Boxes. As a box, it's time for me to put on my nerd glasses once again and take you guys into a deep dive about boxes. Specifically, the many different types of boxes and box modifiers that exist in Street Fighter 6. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about box-related stuff, especially in Street Fighter 6. I see a lot of weird things get thrown around, so I figure this might be useful to help you understand this game on a deeper level. As always, please remember to hit subscribe, and let's get on with the video. So, for today's video, I'm going to be using this website right here, sf6frames.com, as my main resource. It's a really useful website that I will put a link to in the description. But I'd also like to make a plea to Capcom to please add the stuff that I'm about to talk about as a training mode option. It's very awkward that we still have to use mods and stuff to look at boxes in this game. Anyway, if you have played fighting games at all, or listened to people talking about fighting games, you're probably already aware of the basic two types of box. Something like this. You're probably familiar with this, right? Hitboxes and hurtboxes. So, these are the really simple ones. So your hitbox is the part of your move that hits your opponent. For example, Luke's fist during the punch is marked in red here. This is a hitbox. And your hurtbox is basically your entire vulnerable area where your opponent can hit you. So in this case, it's all of these green boxes in this picture. Now, in Street Fighter 6, these are always rectangles, but some games do have weird ones. Marvel 3, for example, uses ovals. And actually, Smash games use 3D pills for hit detection. But generally, the term hitbox is universal, even if the game doesn't actually use box shapes. But for the sake of Street Fighter, it's all rectangles. Anyway, now that you understand the two most common types of box, today I want to take you guys on a tour of the more obscure ones that you're probably not so familiar with. So, we're going to start with the proximity block box. You may have seen this before. This mysterious grey box that's just shown up in front of Ryu on frame 2. It wasn't there on frame 1, it's now there on frame 2. This sort of grey or black box is a proximity block box, and what this does is it locks you into proximity guard, which means that you cannot walk backwards if you are inside this box. And if you're wondering why you get glued to the ground on certain normals, for example, Ryu's solar plexus strike, you will notice that the proximity box on this one is huge. So if you are anywhere within this gigantic grey rectangle, your feet will be glued to the floor during this startup animation. Some are much bigger than others, as you can see right here. So that's a proximity block box. The next type of box that I'm going to show you guys is an airstrike invulnerable box. So almost all DPs in this game have what is known as an airstrike invulnerable box. And although it's marked here in dark green, it's not that obvious. Let me just contrast this. So this is a normal hurt box, the light green. The dark green is an airstrike invulnerable box. And basically all this means is that you cannot be hit by jumping attacks while you are in this stance. So this is the startup of Sagat's DP. So all through the startup, Sagat is completely immune on his hurtbox to air attacks. This is how basically air invulnerability works in this game. So you can see that on frame, 14, it switches from a air invulnerable box to a regular hurt box. So this is when it runs out of air invulnerability on this frame. Now you're probably quite aware of this one already. I think that one's probably reasonably well known. But now we need to start getting into the obscure ones. So you've probably heard of airstrike invulnerability, but are you guys aware of airstrike vulnerability? So, there is a mysterious blue box above Ryu during his crouching light punch that is marked as stand crouch attack intangible. And what this means, if you punch Ryu on the ground in this blue box, your punch will go straight through it. So if you do something like a stand fierce and it hits this box, it will not make contact with Ryu. However, if you do a jump attack, like a jump heavy kick, for example, and it hits this box, it actually will make contact This is a special kind of hurt box that can only be hit by jumping attacks. And the purpose of boxes like this is to stop certain attacks from becoming unintentionally used as anti-airs. So Capcom does not want you anti-airing with Ryu's crouch jab, so they stick this extra hurt box on top that can only be hit by jump attacks. So you can't anti-air with Ryu's crouch jab. And this one's fairly common on lots of crouching normals in this game. I think his crouch medium punch has it too. Yeah. You may also have noticed that the hitboxes, the nice red box over here, on most normals have a bit of text in the corner. And this says can't hit backwards. This is a hitbox modifier. It's like a tag that changes the property of a hitbox. And basically what this means is that this normal will not interact with the opponent if the game detects that they are behind you, i.e. this normal cannot hit cross up. And you're probably wondering, when would you ever cross up your opponent with a crouching medium punch? And the answer is you probably wouldn't, but generally this is applied to anti-air normals to stop them from beating jumps that go behind you. So a better example than Ryu's crouch medium punch is Lily. Now, Lily actually got nerfed here. Lily's crouch heavy punch, the god button that does everything, this used to be able to anti-air cross-ups extremely consistently, but in Season 3, they added the can't hit backwards tag to her crouch heavy punch. You can see it on both of these hitboxes right here. So, if the game detects that your opponent has crossed behind Lily, these hitboxes cannot interact with your opponent, even if they make contact. So even if these red boxes touch the opponent, if your opponent is behind you, they will just phase straight through them. So this was the nerf to Lily's anti-air. This gives you a bit of context for that. All of chat is saying good right now. Apparently everyone hates Lily, I guess. Okay, moving on. The next one on my list we have is this one right here. Let's go to Dhalsim. So, the blue hurt box right here is projectile invulnerability. So this is the next one to cover. So, as you guys probably know, Dhalsim's slide will go under fireballs, but Capcom does not want this going under everything. So these top two hurt boxes right here are marked as projectile invulnerable. So these will go under projectiles, but they won't go under strikes. So you can still punch Dhalsim if you make contact with these boxes, but they will go under fireballs. That's pretty predictable. I'm sure you could probably have seen that one coming. But also, this projectile invulnerable hurt box, you may not know, is actually applied to a lot of jump normals in different ways. So, let me show you guys an example. So, this is Bison's jump light kick. You will notice that during this normal, Bison does not have any projectile invulnerability. There are no blue hurt boxes in sight, which means if you land anywhere near a fireball with jump light kick, you are going to get hit with Bison. However, Bison's jump medium kick... Oh, it's not marked as blue on this. They've changed the color scheme for some reason between characters, but Bison's jump medium kick has projectile invulnerable hurt boxes on his lower body during recovery. You can see it says there, the color's different, it's not blue. And what this means is that if you try and jump a deep fireball, jump medium kick will go through it, whereas jump light kick won't. So I'll just kind of demonstrate that in game real quick. So yeah, if you try and neutral jump, for example, with jump light kick, and the fireball is just about to pass underneath you, you get clipped. But if you use jump medium kick, like that, you can see that the tail end of the fireball just barely clipped the back of Bison, but he didn't get hit, because his lower hurt boxes on jump medium kick are actually projectile invulnerable. It's a subtle effect, it may not be that obvious from these clips, but it is worth knowing about. So if you've ever wondered why some jump normals, it feels like your opponent just completely phases through a fireball, but others don't, it's usually because of that property. So that might help you understand what's going on better if you have ever experienced that interaction. Okay, up next, I'm going to talk about full invincibility, and this one's worth mentioning because this doesn't work the way that people think it works. So I've shown you so far that, like, when you do like a regular DP, your hurt box changes to an air invulnerable hurt box. And I think a lot of people don't really understand how invincibility works in this game. So just to clarify, invincibility, full invincibility in this game is actually not a hurt box property. It's not a type of hurt box. When you're fully invincible in this game, your hurt box actually disappears entirely. So this is frame 1 of Ryu's EXDP. You're probably thinking, where is the hurt box? It's not there. You literally do not have a hurt box when you're fully invincible. So it's not until frame, where is it? 9, that Ryu's hurt box suddenly reappears. So worth mentioning, full invincibility in this game is actually slightly different to other types of invincibility, because rather than being a modifier of your hurt box, it just removes the hurt box altogether. Up next, we need to talk about the combo only tag. So this is another thing you may see while looking at hitboxes in this game. So you can see that Ryu's EXDP has 2 big hitboxes right here, but one of them is different. This lower hitbox is marked as combo only. And basically what this means is you can only hit with this hitbox if your opponent is already in hit stun. So the idea here is that Capcom does not want your combos dropping, right? It would feel really bad to try and combo into EXDP and then have your EXDP whiff even if you were close to the opponent. So quite often, for certain moves, they will add a secondary combo-only hitbox just to make combos a little bit more consistent in this game, but without affecting the actual balance of using the move raw. So if you use EXDP as an anti-air, you will only get this top hitbox, and if you use it as a combo tool, you will have access to both. By the way, this is also why I've seen people being confused about Aki's anti-airs being unreliable. We're just going to do a quick bit of Aki downplay. Would it be a broski video if I didn't? You may have seen this image floating around. This is the hitbox for Aki's heavy whip. And I've seen people say, like, why do Aki players complain about her anti-airs? Look at the size of this gigantic ass hitbox. And unfortunately, this hitbox is actually not what the anti-air looks like. You see, you may have noticed, but there's actually 2 hitboxes here. Okay? There's a left and a right hitbox. There's actually 2 separate rectangles. And the one on the left is actually a combo-only hitbox, which means if you use Aki's heavy whip as an anti-air, this is what the hitbox really looks like. That. This little narrow sliver on the right is the hitbox if you use this move as an anti-air. So just to clear up some confusion, I've seen people posting these images. It's actually this if you use it as an anti-air. If it was like this all the time, I would be one happy camper, you know? I had to put some Aki downplay in the video somewhere, right? Alright, up next, we've got another weird one, folks. So, this is something that a lot of people don't know. This is another weird type of hitbox slash hurtbox modifier. Ground strike invincibility. And this one also usually only applies for a single frame. So, if you go through JP's stand heavy punch, you may notice something very strange if you go through this thing frame by frame. Did you see it? Did you see the jump scare? What is this spooky ghost that has just appeared for 1 frame before the first active frame of JP's stand fist? Now, these white hurt boxes are strike invincible. When I say strike invincible, you assume probably that I was going to talk about like DPs and stuff, but actually a fair few normals in this game have 1 frame of strike invulnerability on the hurt box. So it applies to JP stand fierce, as you can see here, just for 1 frame. It also applies to Honda stand fierce. There it is. So again for Honda, just before he brings the hand down, he has this big strike invulnerable hurt box in front of him. And my best guess for why these exist is that if they just removed this hurt box altogether, then I think these moves might end up trading with fireballs. Like, if this hurt box didn't exist, then it might be possible for, like, Honda to, like, chop a fireball from, like, half screen and get a combo out of it on trade. But by having a strike invulnerable hurt box for 1 frame, the idea here, I think, this is my best guess, is that you can use this as a whiff punish, as a footsie tool. It will cause incoming normals to whiff if they hit this area. But if a fireball is coming at you, you cannot force a trade with Stand Fierce. I think that's the idea. If anyone knows more than that, please tell me. But that's my best guess about why these one-frame Strike Invincible hurt boxes are in the game. All right, we've got a few more left. Next one's pretty straightforward. If you've ever played a character that uses armor, you will know about this. So, for example, Geef Stan Heavy Punch, on frame 4, he suddenly turns purple, but only on his upper body. This is an armor box. And as the name implies, if you make contact with the top half of Geef's body in this big purple box, he will armor through your attack. But if you attack him on the lower half of his body where there's no armor, you will win clean. So if you've ever wondered why Zangief's armor beats some moves but not others, it's because you're making contact with this purple box at the top. Pretty simple. Also with Geef, I guess I'll also just show a grab box as well. There it is. This is what command grabs look like. It's pink in this color scheme. So if you get hit by this, you get scooped. Pretty straightforward. It's basically just a hitbox, but for a grab. Not too much to say about that. And the last one I want to mention is so obscure that it doesn't even have a name on this website. I don't even think it has a name officially. I could be wrong. I'm going to call this next one a puddle box because it only applies to Aki and it only applies to 2 of Aki's moves. Orchid Spring, which puts down the poison puddle, sets up this. It's sort of a yellowy orange. It's a completely unique type of box. And as you probably assumed, this is what's used to detect if you are poisoned by Aki's puddle. And it's a unique type of interaction because it doesn't have any hit stun or anything. It's not like a hit effect, it's just like a contact effect. It's also on her level 2, which I'm sure you guys know puts down the puddle as well. And there is one thing I am baffled by with this. This is a slight aside, but for some reason, the puddle box on Aki's level 2 is actually different to the one on her Orchid Spring. And it's, for some reason, and I genuinely don't know why this is, the puddle box on level 2 is extremely tall, right? The one on Orchid Spring is only about ankle height, but for some reason this one is extremely tall. And this makes no sense to me because you can't actually get poisoned unless you are on the ground. So if you're in the air, you can never get hit by this in the first place. So it doesn't actually matter how tall it is. It shouldn't make any difference to the poison detection. So I genuinely have no idea why the one on the level 2 is so tall, given that you can't get poisoned unless you're on the ground in the first place. If anyone knows the answer to that, you win the video, basically. Anyway, hopefully this was useful to get a better understanding of how this game's many types of boxes work. I actually strongly recommend that if you want to learn more about Street Fighter 6, you take some time and just look through hurt boxes in this game, frame by frame, using tools like this. It can actually be really instructive, and it can help you to understand better like why certain interactions occur, why certain normals might beat other normals, why certain jump attacks have certain effects. It might give you answers to the things that you've not understood in real matches. So yeah, hopefully that was useful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys all in the next video.